Fantastic Four.
Ugh.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another little vlog and action movie. So the new Fantastic Fant4stic has just come out. I'm gonna call it Fant4stic
Because that's how they've had the name Fant4stic.
Yep, this is not Fantastic Four. Yeah, this is Fant4stic.
As we know, the movies have already broken the franchise, at least for movies. In terms of movies, I don't know about the comic books.
I would rather watch the old 2005 whatever Fantastic Four movie than this one again. Okay, so we might as well get into this. So this movie's not good.
Yeah.
It's not very good. But what's weird is that my expectations for this were so low that it actually wasn't quite as bad as I heard some. Like, I've heard some people say that, like, you know, this is the worst comic book movie since, you know, Catwoman or Batman and Robin. Part of me says that's kind of a stretch, but there's another part of me that's like, but what is?
Yeah.
Since, you know...
Like, try to come up with something that was more of a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it kind of is. So, I mean,
should we start with just the plot and go to specific things after that?
So the plot is 4 kind of unlikable teenagers who are just most of them are way too smart, just to, like, unrealistically smart.
Yeah.
Get a job at government science place.
This it starts out as initially Science Place.
Yes, Science Place.
That occasionally gets government contracts.
Yeah, so they get a job at Science Place.
Science Place. I think it was Baxter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Reed Richards and his friend Ben Grimm, although Ben doesn't really do very much, created basically a teleporter.
Yeah.
But found that
when they were in 5th grade, Reed is that freaking smart. And to be fair,
he just is smart too.
To be fair, this is, you know, established character traits and whatnot. Basically, up through high school, Reed would help Ben get good grades on things, and Ben would keep the bullies off of Reed. And that's how their friendship grew.
Why did they not show that in this movie? That would have been interesting.
They almost showed it. They basically showed half of it. They showed Reed giving Ben good grades.
Yeah,
through his science fair material and whatnot, and I thought they were going to go there when they, like, got that really close up on child Reed with, you know, those scars. Like, he has a number of small but distinctive scars on his face.
Yeah,
and they never explained them.
In fact, now that I think of it, Reed had scars on his face, and Johnny too. Because if you notice, Johnny had a couple little scars too. And
as far as we can tell, it's just the actors who played them, the adult actors who played basically the final form.
Maybe they just have...
They have these, as far as we can tell, they have these scars, so we needed to establish them for the audience beforehand.
Anyways, so yeah, when they're like 5 years old, Reed Richards creates a teleporter, perfects it by the time that they get into high school.
Perfects it as well as you can perfect anything with, you know, junkyard parts.
Yeah. And of course, they show this off at a science fair, and of course, the teachers are just like, we aren't here for magic tricks. We're here for science. You just saw an airplane vanish and come back covered in dirt. Like, there's like blue glowy stuff around it. Like, that is not just like a magic trick.
Even if it is just a light show, give the kid credit.
That's an impressive light show, at least. Yeah, there are a couple moments in here that made me facepalm so hard. But their experiment does catch the eye of, what's his first name? Daddy Storm.
Franklin.
Big Papa Storm.
Papa Storm.
And
Papa Storm.
Papa Storm and his white adopted daughter.
Yeah.
This is something I need to talk about.
They at least cover that.
Because this was something that was such a big deal that, these two characters who are established siblings are played by two different racial ethnicity characters. You got white girl and black guy playing brother and sister. Which, of course, the internet exploded because, how one side is like, how could you, change such, that character dynamic so much by doing that? And then you had the other side who were like, social justice warrior, come on, we need more, representation in these comic book movies.
Yeah,
the whole time I saw it
we need to find the black superheroes that actually exist and make movies about them.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. And I kind of called this from the beginning. They did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Not just to... I don't think they cast Johnny Storm, Michael B. Jordan, I think his name is, as with that intent the whole time. I kind of always thought that, like, they wanted to generate as much buzz about this movie as possible. Yeah. Because when you really think about it, they have this whole thing where Susan Storm is adopted. She's the adopted daughter. Mm-hmm. That is one line. That is it. Yeah. They never talk about it through the rest of the movie. Never brought up. And they never have any like brother-sister dynamic even at all, really.
That whole conversation is basically a way to show Sue and Reed flirting with each other somehow.
Kinda.
Like,
where he just asks, like, so you're adopted, right? She goes, yeah. And that's it.
Yeah. That sparks the rest of the conversation, which, they fade away from really quickly.
Which makes you wonder, like, then what's the... I don't get what the point of them making them adopted siblings. Because that's such a big change. Like, that's a totally different kind of dynamic. Like, adopted siblings have a different, like, even ones that get really, really close, there's still a kind of different relationship there. Not bad or good, just it's different.
Yeah, and
this movie doesn't go into it at all. There's no reason whatsoever for one of them to be adopted. They could have easily cast Sue Storm as a black girl. Script doesn't change at all.
What are you saying? Are we not representing adopted people in these films enough?
I'm just saying
what is wrong with you, sir?
I'm just saying if you're gonna make
something against adopted people now.
I'm just saying if you're gonna make
the internet was gonna say it anyway. I'm just jumping ahead of them.
I'm just saying if you're gonna make such a change to a character, that doesn't just change one character. Yeah. It changes the dynamic with another. But you never address that at all. You never go into that. They never go into the relationship between Sue Storm and Johnny, even though that could be genuinely fascinating.
Yes.
There are stuff there, but they never go into it because this movie's so focused on, like,
what you get is
some things, but then not even touching on things that would actually be interesting.
A tense relationship between Johnny and his dad, which that was interesting, that was believable, that was a fascinating component. Now, here is the adopted daughter, who, by all appearances, is much closer to Dad.
Yes.
How about figuring how that plays into everything? There is a group dynamic there.
Yep.
This is the first comic book family. This is the first set of heroes where they work together And that is the point. And they only just sort of touch on that and then brush it under the rug. It's a phoned-in, I hate to call it a moral, but that's apparently the purpose it serves.
Even at the very... You know what? Forget it. We're going into spoilers on this one.
Yeah.
We are. At the very end, Papa Storm is dying. He's about to die because...
Gets blasted by Doom.
Victor Von Doom... we're going to have stuff to say about this guy.
Oh, yes.
Anyways... So right before Papa Storm dies, and they're all, weirdly enough, for the first time since getting their powers, they've come together at the climax. He says something like, his last words are basically like, stick together.
It's something like, look out for each other.
Yeah, look out for each other. They're like, so this is what the message that the movie's been trying to tell us. Because to me, it seemed like the message this movie was trying to tell us was that science is
this magical thing that, and science is magic. That is what we are supposed to be learning.
First, let's talk about the cast. Because honestly, and overall, I'd say, like, on paper, I could see how this movie's doing pretty much like everything right.
Yes.
On paper. Even down to the casting.
The first act was wonderful. Even with its, tired cliches, I was sitting there thinking, well, I don't see what everybody's complaining about. This is actually pretty good. At least
maybe that was just expectations were so low that, like, the fact that it was mildly entertaining at the beginning was like, oh.
And I'm making all of these comparisons in my head to the earlier Fantastic Four movie, and I'm like, oh, so they at least have character traits. They at least have, specialized fields. Sue's whole concentration is on detecting patterns. So she's constantly listening to music, and she's fairly cold and detached like a lot of the other characters because science. And she does eventually warm up, and there's a character there. There is a character there.
This movie has so many, like, little nuggets.
So much better.
But then they, like, just as they're like, see, look at this nice little nugget. You see this interesting dynamic of a character?
No!
See, no! Pull it away!
You don't get it! No!
You will see in the sequel.
No nugget for you.
This movie is nothing but setting up sequels. That's all this movie is setting up sequels. It's like when you watch, like, the last Harry Potter movies, how it was, like, part 1 and part 2. But, like, part 1 was nothing but just exposition and people talking and setting up for cool things. And then part 2 is nothing but the cool things. This movie is like that part 1. It is just... It's
an unnecessary step.
It is nothing but just setting up things.
It shows... I think it shows laziness in film, in filmmaking, when you don't try to make each individual film its own self-contained story.
Yeah.
Each one should be interesting on its own. If you are going to make sequels, then tie in a larger story, but make sure that each installment can stand alone.
Like, for instance, here's something that I just remembered was even a thing that happened at the beginning of this movie. Ben Grimm basically lives in a very abusive family.
Yeah. Well,
like, he calls his brother stupid, which his brother then slaps him around, and then the mom comes in, sees it, and then slaps the
older brother around for slapping the kid brother around.
So, like, that's a very, like...
I thought it was kind of funny how she says, "And you don't slap kids!" And it's like, your teenage son... You are slapping around your teenage son to show him that you don't slap other people around.
Yeah, but that's the thing that, like...
Sure.
That's, they're clearly showing, like, his upbringing was very, very, very bad upbringing.
He had...
That, they never touch on that ever again!
Like, they don't really go into
So what was the point?
They don't say bad upbringing, it's just that he grew up in a rough place.
Yeah,
but it never comes back around.
Never at all.
So
what was the purpose of it other than to be shocking in the very beginning? And it never comes into play.
They established that he is the tough one, even when he is a small child. And
they didn't need to have him be in an abusive family for them to show that. They could have showed the fact that he protected Reed Richards from bullies, like apparently he does in the comics, but they don't in this movie because that's not dramatic enough.
The deal is that he's a football star in high school.
That I do remember. But also, Reed Richards keeps in one scene. He says that basically he was talking about how he kind of had some trouble with. Yeah,
he also had trouble as a child because he was just so much smarter than either of his parents, I guess.
That's the other thing. Like when they show his parent, like there's one scene where you see his parents, and they seem honestly just like any normal family, except that they have a son who is weirdly genius, which they don't explain. At all.
Basically,
they don't go into that. Like, it's not like one parent was like also really smart.
They established that he has a stepdad, and apparently that's supposed to be enough of
that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was.
And that's, I guess, supposed to be enough of an explanation.
I didn't even catch that. That must have been one line that I like.
Yeah. I think it might have been like one line.
I didn't even know that. I was just like, oh, you just had normal upbringing. Why is he like talking about he says
he wishes he was adopted.
That's it. He wishes he was adopted. As far as I saw, his parents didn't seem that like. They seem kind of normal. Like the dad was a little. He shouted once like Reed, but that was because, to be fair, son is
knocked out power.
He knocked out power
for the entire city.
The entire city's power gets knocked out.
And you're telling me
my dad would yell at me for that too. Any parent would.
You'd hope that a parent would eventually think, maybe this kid who can figure out how to, hook a bunch of wires together and knock out the power, maybe we should, give him some sort of outlet for that. No. They just let him continue to science in the garage.
It's weird to think that
then they go to this other dimension and come back, and now they have all their weird powers, and they don't really know how to control their powers, and you're thinking, okay, some sort of like training montage or something. 1 year later.
Nope. 1 year, no training montage or anything. So basically, you know how the 2005 Fantastic Four got a lot of hate because people were like, oh, they just sit around and admire their powers. This movie doesn't do that, but it still has the same problem because they still never fight crime. They thwart Dr. Doom at the last 10 minutes of the movie, which appears out of nowhere. All of a sudden, Doom, we gotta take him down because he's back in it.
And I do love. I noticed you were cracking up at this moment in the final fight with Doom. I think it's Reed says, "Victor, please," and he just and they're grappled together, and he's like, "There is no Victor, only Doom." And I'm just like, "There is no Data, only Zool."
Might as well go into Doom at this point.
Yes.
Whoa! You know how in X-Men Origins Wolverine, how they made Deadpool, how they turned him into Baraka, but then sewed his mouth shut, and how that's weirdly that's how they get that out of Deadpool. This is like that for Doctor Doom. Suddenly he's uber psychic.
Yeah.
He can make people's heads explode and create rock pillar portal things, and it's real. He's telekinetic.
He doesn't have.
I don't think Doctor Doom is that. Is he?
For Doctor Doom,
is he telekinetic?
He is the ultimate culmination of both science and magic. His father was a famous scientist, or a scientist at least. I don't know if he was famous. and his mother was a gypsy. Because old-timey racism.
Okay.
So basically, in order to honor both of his parents, he, at a very young age, decided to master both. He would study science and magic, combine them, and become fiercely powerful because he could, put them both together so well.
Okay. But was he able to, like, lift rocks and stuff?
In this, it just seemed to be like he has psychic powers now.
Yeah,
I guess
just all of a sudden,
sure, why not?
It's like all of a sudden he's.
They don't really explain the source of the power other than
green goo.
Yeah, there was a bunch of power in this other dimension.
Again,
and he
just
spent a
setting up
year
for
there
sequel.
absorbing it, and that's all the explanation you get.
Yep, and shaping the world to be his, I guess. Because he says so.
With the
we don't oversee it. Yeah, but in this one, he basically just...
He absorbs the green energy.
He absorbs the green energy, which turns
and
him...
then can blow things up with his brain.
Yeah. He could blow up brains with his brain.
Yes.
Even. But his appearance is very strange. He basically has turned into, like, a crystal man.
Yeah. Who
glows kind of green in places.
Yeah. It's like cracks in the crystal thing, or
he's not made. It's not like covered in metal and like has like the mask.
I guess technically he's deformed. And
he's
where
deformed,
on earth did he get his signature hood?
Yeah,
like the green.
He just all of a sudden is wearing this like green hood, like
they finally
thing. Where
they finally figure out how to get back to this other dimension, which was all rocks and green energy.
Yeah,
and there he is. Hobbling back to where they were.
Yep.
With a green hood. The worst part is that it did manage to get my hopes up at the beginning.
Yeah, because it sets up a lot of interesting stuff.
They were establishing characters. They were establishing character dynamics. There were all of these fascinating relationships and tension and all of these wonderful things that they hinted at, and then they kind of skim over it, and I'm like, okay, maybe they'll be finding some sort of resolution later.
Nope. They don't.
And then Dr. Doom shows up at the very end, and there is
cartoony bad.
They just sort of cram in this final fight when there hasn't been a whole lot of fighting already.
At all. Which is weird, because Ben Grimm turns into basically a one-man, war machine.
Yeah.
But all that is done with, you just see, newspaper clippings.
Yeah.
And, one,
You get footage salvaged from this, that, the other. Basically, the military says, we will fix you. But in the meantime,
you work
be
for
a
us.
living tank.
Yeah.
And they're about to do the same thing with Johnny.
But Johnny's also pretty into it. He wants to do it.
Johnny's okay with this.
Yeah, but...
Because again, he's more of a character, so it's not just, he wants to do this. Because why not? There is a component of wanting to basically stick it to his own father.
Yeah.
For having convinced him to join the project that gave him the powers in the first place.
Yep, which goes nowhere. Another interesting, could be interesting thing that goes nowhere, because they clearly wanted this to be a franchise, and we're like, let's save actual real things for the sequels. We'll just throw this together, because we need to. Everyone knows Fantastic Four. We need to just
we've already got the sequel on the schedule anyway.
Yeah, because this first one's going to do very successfully. Is going to get.
We have our fans.
Yeah,
people have their money already. You might as well just give Marvel Films about $1,000 and just expect the occasional disappointment in the future.
Well, this wasn't Marvel Studios.
Oh, this wasn't Marvel Studios.
Yeah, this wasn't Marvel Studios. This is 20th Century Fox.
That explains a lot.
Yes, it is. Oh, that's another thing. It was not a good move for them to like have the Deadpool trailer immediately before showing the actual movie.
No.
It was like, wow, awesome, cool, and then immediately like, oh, that's right, we have to watch this.
That was a good call because I still have a reason to live.
That's true.
Even after seeing what 20th Century Fox is trying to do to the superhero movies, which have been
Days of Future Past was pretty
all
good.
in all, good.
Very hit and miss for 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
You know? Very hit or miss. Because, like, Days of Future Past was really, really good.
Mostly miss.
Now we have this. So... also, like, I don't know, like, to me, the Fantastic Four, just as a whole, is a very goofy, campy kind of thing. I mean, you have a character whose last name is Von Doom. But the tone of this movie, they really just Dark Knighted it. But it gets to the point where they're taking it so, like, everything so seriously that whenever something, like, goofy and campy that you, like, does happen, it's not, like, a fun, because you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that?
I should not be sympathizing with a character who is named Von Doom. Like, honestly, given the motivation they gave him in this movie, I'm down. Sure. Destroy the Earth. Start over. Do it. Please. Please. Because apparently, this is the quality of movie we're making.
Because, like, nobody's likable in this movie either. That's something that bothered me personally. Ben, okay, so before they get their powers, to me, a lot of these characters were really unlikable. Like, Von Doom, obviously, you know, cocky, arrogant, so of course he rubs me the wrong way. Sue Storm even really annoyed me in the beginning. Like, I don't know, she just, like, everything out of her mouth was just, like, just insulting Reed. Just
because.
No real reason for her to do it at all. There was no reason for her to not, like,
he awkwardly tries to spark up a conversation with her.
And she's just, like, trying to ignore him. It's like...
Sure. Well, to be fair, he did try to strike up a conversation with someone who already had earbuds. Like, that is a universal sign of, I don't want to talk right now.
Yeah, but, like, I don't know, it just seemed like from the beginning she was just like, ugh, it's this guy again. Like, why? Where did that come from?
Ugh, it's the guy who came up with the one little trick that set my father's work ahead.
Yeah.
He finally cracked the code.
Totally like, yeah. She should hey, it's you. Hey, let's talk or something.
She should at least be impressed by that much.
Yeah, but no, she's just like,
oh yeah, that's you're the guy who figured that out. Yeah, sweet. See you around.
And then Johnny is just like
again, the whole character is supposed to be cocky, so
yeah, but yeah. So I mean that he was, you know, that was kind of expected, but it was just the fact that, like, honestly, the only character that I liked, you know, pre-powers was Ben. He was, like, a nice guy. He was, like, really interested in whatever, like, science, even if he didn't understand. Yeah. He was, like, interested at least, trying to learn. And yet, you know, he's not actually in it all that much.
Like, they get to high school and it's, I'm just partnered with him because we've been friends for a long time now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to understand the science, I'm just going to push the buttons.
Yeah. But when Reed goes to live and work at Science Place, Ben doesn't go with. And then he's gone for a while until all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Reed's just like, hey, by the way, we're going into space. You need to come with, because, you know, we were a team back then, so you need to come with.
Other space dimension thing.
Yeah, and of course, Ben, who has just woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning from a call from his best friend, who, as far as I know, has never talked to him in the past, like, however long he's been there. All of a sudden, hey, I'm going into, like, super portal space. Come with. Then, boom, he's there.
If I get a call from someone at 2 in the morning. If you call me at 2 in the morning, it had better be a freaking emergency.
Dude, want to come to Six Flags with me? Come on, bro, let's go right now.
Are they even open right now, man?
Dude, we gotta go now, or else NASA will go, and we can't let NASA go.
We can't let NASA go to Six Flags? This is the hypothetical you're working.
Yes.
Okay, we can't let NASA go to Six Flags.
And put their American flag. That actually is what happens, is they don't want NASA to go through the portal first. They want to go through.
To be fair, compelling speech leading up to that.
True, yes.
We remember Lance Armstrong...
Yeah, Neil Armstrong, Buzz
I'm getting names mixed up.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we remember all the astronauts that landed on the moon, but nobody remembers the name of the guy that actually designed the space shuttle that took them to the moon.
Yeah.
That actually is a really good point.
Getting my Armstrongs mixed up.
You're Lance Armstrong. When Lance Armstrong rode his bicycle up to space. I'd watch that movie.
I would. I want to see that now.
Yeah. It's basically just Flash Gordon. Instead of a football player, it's Lance Armstrong. Rode his bicycle so fast that he just took off. He just took off, and Queen started playing, and everything was campy and fun and awesome.
Stop me now.
Bicycle. Oh, no, that's more fun than we've had in the past, 2 hours.
That would have been amazing.
Oh, that's the thing. Fantastic Four should be fun. But they went so serious. Take this seriously. It's not. I will say, the one time that the, take it seriously thing actually really worked for me was when immediately after they get back from Planet Zero for the first time. And they're they're starting to, see what has happened to them. Mm-hmm. You see the scene where, Reed is waking up after, they're back, and he sees Johnny on fire. He's like, oh, but his leg is trapped. So he's crawling toward him, and all of a sudden he looks back, and his leg is stretched out. And it looks genuinely
he freaks
terrifying
out
and
passes out.
Yeah, and then
he wakes up, and he's strapped to a table.
All stretched out. To me, that actually...
And he's asking about his best friend.
Yeah, where's Ben?
They're trying to get him to respond, and then heavily sedate him, and
it's genuinely intense scene. Yes. And then when he finally gets out, he crawls through the vents, and he sees Ben, who's now been turned into a rock monster. He's horrified, And then they show Papa Storm
basically has to look at his children,
his daughter, who's fading in and out. And, out of consciousness, and then has to watch his son, his actual even birth son, completely engulfed in fire, even half awake at one point.
And for both of them have to deal with the fact that they were pivotal in bringing this about.
Yeah, it's really
those are the moments that got my hopes up.
Yeah, I was like, this is actually really intense, in a good way. That that old 2005 movie, when they got their powers, it was whoa, I'm stretching, this is weird. What's going on? This is weird. Oh man, I'm a monster. This sucks.
As soon as they realize in the original, the 2005. I hate to say original because there's that 70s version.
Roger the Corman one.
But the 2005 version, they get their powers and almost instantly know kind of how to control them. Almost how to control them. They still need to work on it, but they aren't really a danger to themselves while using it. Mm-hmm. Except maybe Johnny, but he's a danger to himself anyway.
Anyways,
because that's apparently his only character trait in that movie.
Yeah.
And now he's Captain America.
Yeah, but, it's kind of funny when I think about it. Which would I rather watch again? The 2005 Fantastic Four or this one again? Because on one hand, the 2005 one is a stupid movie. It has even less character development and everything this movie has. But on the other hand, I think the 2005 one was at least more fun to sit through. This one was just like constant, like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, but we're not going to talk about it. So great, cool. I guess there's just
the potential. We have the potential for drama, but we're not going there.
We're not. That's all this movie is just setting up drama, setting up interesting things, but then moving on to the next setup of an interesting thing. And then moving on. Yeah, a lot of the characters in this movie go from being, like, just kind of, like, unlikable, really, and not relatable. And then after they get their powers, a lot of times they're just, like Reed Richards. After Reed Richards gets his stretchy powers, and
he disappears.
Well, yeah, then he disappears from the movie entirely.
He goes all Bruce Banner on us.
He does.
Even to South America.
Even to Panama. Which, again, like, that just kind of like, oh, he's in Panama, go get him, and then they send Ben Grimm's and they get him, and then that's it.
So what I'm getting from these movies, if I ever have to disappear off the face of the earth...
Go to Panama.
I'm not going to Panama.
Don't go to Panama, they'll find you.
That's the first place they'll look.
They'll find you, that's right.
They know.
Go somewhere else. But, yeah, then after he gets his powers, and then after he comes back from Panama, half the time then he's just, like, staring off into space, doing nothing but just, like... There's this one line that fascinates me because on paper I assume it was supposed to be a joke, but he delivers it so flat and like just monotone that I didn't know what to think. Where they show that they rebuilt the portal machine thing, and he just flat stares at it and goes, "They made it ugly." And that's it. And then next scene.
Because that's totally what...
Is that a joke?
That's totally what the character we've seen would care about. And now that it's...
Oh, they made it ugly.
They made it ugly.
It's not even really that different either. It's just the little, like, doors that open look different. They're not, like, tubes anymore. They're, like, more blocky.
They streamlined it. He's a hipster scientist.
He is.
He is.
But it's so weird, because, like... Is that a joke? Because he delivers it so, like, just staring off into space. He's not even really staring at it, if I remember. He's just, like, looking around going, "They made it ugly." And that's it.
As a scientist...
Is that a joke?
As a scientist...
Is he just genuinely, like, all of a sudden...
pragmatic aspects of the devices I build, I now take offense at this aesthetic.
That's the kind of humor in this movie. It's just like, is that joke?
Is it?
Man,
is it?
The very end when they get their, they save the world, and then they're given their own, like, facility that just so happens to be a giant facility in the middle of the mountain somewhere filled with people.
Apparently the government had access
ready to go,
that,
like, right now. And anyway, so this last little bit, oh boy, was so... This is the kind of entertainingly bad I was kind of wishing this movie was from the beginning.
For.
Yeah, where... and it's coming, because all of a sudden Reed's like, we need a name. Like the four of us, we're a team, we need a name. And of course they come up with, funny names that really aren't all that funny. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Ben goes...
Well, you got me an A back in school. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And then all of a sudden...
Say that again.
Say that again. And it does the music like... Dun, say that again. It's fantastic. I got it. We're... And then... Done the Fantastic Four.
And roll credits.
It's no longer Fant4stic. Roll credits. There it is. That's how they come up with the name.
Mm-hmm. And it is a name. It is a name.
This movie is just... I don't know. It has so much... This is what annoys me, is that it has so much potential there, but because it never uses that potential, it kind of makes me even more mad than if it was, like, just a genuine, like, just complete garbage trash from beginning to end with nothing redeeming about it, like a Batman and Robin or a Catwoman. But this has some potential. It has so many little nuggets that it teases you with and then pulls away that it kind of makes me more mad at it. And it's weird because I heard so many people say this movie's total garbage, and the whole time I'm like, there's stuff here. If they would
There's
just
the raw material.
forget this idea in their head that we need to make sequels, we need to make this a franchise we need to set things up to be established later because we don't want to establish everything now. You know, it's like...
I'm realizing more and more as we talk that the movie is, at moments, a metaphor for itself. Papa Storm giving Johnny the speech about not living up to his potential. Or that initial device in Reed's garage that's, you know, a bunch of scrap wire hooked together that technically works, but it still needs refinement. That is this movie in a nutshell. It has so much going for it that it really should have ended up better.
Yeah. There's so much potential in this movie. And you know what's really funny is that this hasn't been confirmed, but there are rumors that the director of this movie on multiple occasions showed up on set completely drunk.
That makes sense.
And I think that's might be the issue is with the... Maybe it's... If that's the case, I can see it. Because, again, like, on paper... I can tell that on paper, all of this probably looks really, really good. Like, it's doing everything right. But there's so many weird things... I don't know.
And I can see a drunk director going, yeah, we got it, man. Don't worry. We don't need another take.
Nope.
No, you nailed it.
Yep.
Nailed it.
Do that Ghostbusters line, Von Doom. I can't... When the movie's trying to be so serious in tone and you still have your character named Victor Von Doom...
I think...
No, I don't buy it.
I think there was one iteration in the comics where they changed his name to Von Dom.
Yeah.
Just to make him sound less evil before the transformation.
And then let me guess, fans got upset about it because they changed the name of the character.
I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time...
I don't recommend really...
In case we didn't make that clear.
Forgot to mention, I don't really recommend this movie.
If they make a sequel, we will be there for you.
Yes.
We will do this again.
We will.
And we will tell you whether or not you should find this in a back alley dumpster somewhere. Because even if they make a sequel that ties up all of these loose ends, I still would not recommend paying money for this.
No. This movie is just... It's not worth your time. It's not worth your money. Just don't bother. Bye!